Right, so on to the business of the day. So as I said, I've got Steve and Shreya from Syndesi here with me. So what we're going to be talking about today is giving your clients what they want and what they need, basically. We're always talking about how business owners want help with more than just accounting, and we're always encouraging accountants to offer higher value services beyond compliance, for example, business growth and profit improvement in particular. And we've seen how successful some accountants have been with that, like Rachel and Catherine, who were on this webinar this time last week. But what if your clients need services that are beyond your experience or your qualifications or training? It's just something that you're unable to provide. So, for example, if they want things like wealth management, legal advice, insurance brokers, advice on funding, all of these types of services that you might not be able to provide for them. How do you bridge that gap and help those clients, but without kind of increasing your costs, your headcount, or your workload? So Syndesi can help you with this. So they can help recommend trusted partners. They can help you to build stronger client relationships, and they can help you generate consistent referral income. So that all sounds good to me. So I shall now hand over to Steve and Shreya to tell you more.
Thank you.
I also wanted to say that they will be taking questions. So if you do have questions, please pop them in the Q&A so they don't get lost in the chat, and we'll ask them at the end. All right.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, Holly. Thank you for that introduction. And of course, I would love to start with briefly introducing myself and my colleague, Steve. So, hi, I'm Shreya Johari. I'm a product manager at Syndesi. Been with them since past 3-4 years almost. And Steve Barron is my colleague. He's the head of operations at Syndesi. And firstly, I would like to thank everyone who has joined so far. Thank you for joining. We really appreciate you tuning in for this session. Today, as Holly mentioned, we are going to be talking about the gap that is between what your clients are asking you and the things you can actually provide them practically. So we call it the value gap because there's a difference between what your clients ask you and versus what they really expect, right, and what they actually get. So we're going to also be sharing how forward-thinking firms who we work with on a daily basis are sort of turning those unmet client needs into consistent referral income. And we'd love to share what the problem is and how we solve it and so on. So we're not going to share a slide or anything. We're just going to have like a very easy flow conversation. We would also ask you questions for the audience. So feel free to answer on the chat. We want the session to be as interactive as possible. So let me actually start. I don't know, Steve. Do you want to give an introduction before I start? I have a question for the audience to begin with.
Well, I think you've made the introduction was very capable, Shreya, so thank you for that. But I'd like to say it's great to be here, and hi everyone. I'm really looking forward to spending the next hour or so with you to tell you everything about Syndesi and to hear what you have to say about your own experiences.
Right. So I have a question. Okay, I see there's already a question in the chat. Who is accountable for the advice? We'll take questions, I think, towards the end. And of course, so to start with, I have a question for the audience. I mean, think of a time when your clients came to you asking for something maybe beyond compliance or day-to-day accounting stuff that you do. And how did you sort of deal with it? Did you give them a suggestion or did you Google it? Maybe they came to you asking for a legal issue or they needed some financial advice. And we would love to know how you dealt with it. Oh, someone is saying, I Google it. Okay, that's an interesting one. Lots of time. Yes. We know. I mean, we know from our market research that accountants get asked these questions a lot of times. And of course, your clients see you as their trusted advisor. So they come to you asking for anything and everything, even beyond compliance at times. Oh, someone is saying referral, recommend a specialist. Yeah. So that tells a story, doesn't it? So it definitely shows that the client need help even beyond compliance. And I would love to also, ask Steve, how would you sort of describe this value gap that we're discussing about?
Well, I would describe it as this. I would say we call it the value gap, and it exists in almost every accounting practice, regardless of size. I suppose the clearest way I can put it is that your clients trust you. They trust you as their accountant more than they trust almost any other professional in their life. But that trust is currently sitting in a very narrow channel. It flows through your accounts work, your compliance work, and your tax work, and then it stops. And the moment a client needs something outside that channel, that trust becomes untapped, and they can, especially if you just ask them to Google it, go off and find someone themselves. And then you've lost a little bit of the stickiness of your relationship. And we are very aware that that is really where the value is with accountants and their clients, that stickiness, that and trust.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's obviously that side of thing, the loyalty risk that you have with your clients, the client retention, which is quite important metric in most of the firms. But there's also like missed revenue opportunity, because if you're a small firm, you must that is obviously also a very important metric to look at. So yeah, I mean, you want to sort of go beyond just becoming a transaction, like a yearly transaction, and also evolve into becoming like a complete business advisor for your clients. So I would love to ask the audience, what are the different areas or different services that you get asked the most? Is it legal, mortgage, insurance, pensions, IFAs? There's so many things, really. So I would love to know if you guys have anything that you've been asked for recently, or is it something that you think people ask a lot of times? Insurance. Someone is saying insurance. Share valuations,
Yeah,
pensions,
very important. Yeah.
trust, probate. So you see, there's so many things that you've been asked already. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. And that brings me to a question, Steve. Before we actually get into how accountants can solve this value gap, why do you think most of the accounting firms don't already have a system in place?
I think there's a few reasons for that. One is that compliance work is heads down by nature. The accountant is focused on deadlines, on the work in front of them. And the second is that traditional referrals have always been informal and relationship dependent. You'd recommend someone because you happen to know them, not because you had a process. And also, no one ever taught accountants how to do this systematically. It wasn't in any training, so it just doesn't happen. I think it's also relevant at this stage to point out that the world is changing and the accountancy world is changing rapidly, with AI, with the challenger banks all trying to impose themselves on the accountant's work. And it may be that the people or the traditional network doesn't cover off everything that the accountant's client needs. And therefore, if you have a system where you can tap into niche areas or specialists, then you are giving your client something extra, which is added value.
Yeah, no, thanks for sharing that, Steve. Say if the audience wants to go back after this session and look for the value gap in their client base, where do they start?
Well, I think the best place is to start with the conversations that you've already had but haven't acted on. You can go through a client's records and look for any note where a client mentions something outside your usual scope, a property deal, a business sale, or redundancy, or whatever. And every one of those is a flag. That's a need that may or may not have been met and probably wasn't met through you. The second thing is you could look at your client profile as a whole. If you have a lot of small business owners, the gaps tends to cluster around commercial finance, employment law, and insurance has already been mentioned. If you have high net worth individuals, it's likely to be wealth management, estate planning, maybe international tax. But of course, you know your client base, so the gap almost maps itself. Those services that you can offer that your clients want to receive.
Yeah, and I think a very simple and easy starting point is just to ask. So, if you're having a monthly catch up, which could be rare for most accounting firms, but if you're doing like an annual review and things like that, you can just ask one extra question about, is there anything else that you're looking apart, beyond whatever things so it's already going on, and you would be actually surprised to hear their answers, because running a business is, it's difficult, right? We all know that, and there are so many problems that they face on a day-to-day basis. You would be surprised to hear their answers. So yeah, that's something that's a really simple starting point. So right. So I mean, say someone identified a gap, right? And they want to go about solving it. What would you say would be a good approach, Steve?
Well, there's a simple starting point, as we said, which is just to ask the clients. And sometimes that question alone has meant a great deal of increased revenue for the accountants. It isn't always necessary about not having the right contacts. It's probably not having the habit of looking for it. It's actually encouraging, because a habit is easier to fix than a skills gap. So I think it's having the system within your practice that enables you to identify where a need is and how to close it.
Yeah, absolutely. You need to have a system that would keep make you ready to deal with such situations, and how when you identify a gap, you are you're just confident to say yes to your clients and close the gap. So thanks for that. And I think also I would like to add is becoming like like a all-in-one advisor, like a business advisor, also deepens the relationship with the client. You can obviously, not all of the accounting firms are looking to become like a professional professional services firm, right? They're accounting firms. So there need to be a system where they are supported in the way that they don't have to have departments, in-house departments, but a way that they can actually just make a referral, or just have a system to say yes to all their client needs, and basically fulfill the value gap, and also grow the firm. So, yeah, right. So, I mean, I would love to ask you, Steve, then, of course, Syndesi is built to solve that gap. And how would you describe Syndesi for anyone who haven't heard about us before, firstly? And how would you describe how can it work for an accounting firm to solve the value gap, and just become confident in saying yes to all their client needs?
Well, I think that what we have to look at is, firstly, what have the large firms done? And most of them have built the capability in-house. I mean, if you look at the big four, the large national practices, they spent years constructing whole divisions, legal arms, wealth planning teams, tax advisory units, insurance. And the logic is sound, because their view is, if their client needs one of these services, they have one, so the client never has to leave. But the cost of building that is enormous. You're talking about headcount, office infrastructure, regulatory requirements alone are horrific. So what we offer is a leveling of the playing field to start with. I will go back to this question at the end, but we have a network of trusted advisors, verified and trusted advisors, that allow all accountancy firms, small to large, one-man bands to the medium-sized firms or whatever, and beyond, to be able to offer their clients those services. So when a client asks, "Do you know someone who can do this?" your answer is yes. And very simply and very easily, as I'm sure you'll explain later, Shreya, you can satisfy those clients' needs rather than saying, no, I can't do it, or I'll speak to my man down the road, who probably is very good, and please speak to him. But of course, if he's busy, if he doesn't cover this particular specialism, if he's on holiday, whatever, and I say he, I mean, they, anyone, you have somewhere to go, you have a backstop.
Yeah, I think there's someone asking, how do you vet your trusted third parties? That's a really, really good question because, we take trust very important, and we know it's very important and we take it quite seriously. So there are a few ways that we vet them. Firstly, it's not an open network. So it's not like someone can just fill in a form and get onboarded onto our network. We first do like a call with them. We get to know about them. We do our due diligence process. We collect indemnity insurance from them. We do referencing, recommendations. We also have like a agreement with them, which is an introducers agreement and a service level agreement, wherein they have to agree on certain things. So that is something we do. We have also have a partnership with de facto. They are a platform of where they sort of have reviews of different professional services, including IFAs, accountants, and so on. We also partner with them to make sure that all our professionals are properly vetted. So that's a few things. I don't know, Steve, if you have anything to add on to answer that
Yeah, I think
question.
so. De facto, you probably might know more as vouched for. They're
Vouch
the
for,
lead,
yes.
yeah, they're the leading IFA professional verification platform in the UK. Additionally, we listen to our accountants as well. So a lot of what we do is on peer recommendation. So so that everyone could see jobs that have been done before, and basically the reaction. So almost like a TripAdvisor type system to ensure that that another accountant or more than one accountant has experienced these professionals and vetted them. I mean, we began really because we knew that a lot of professionals do not give the service that we expect of them. I always come back to lawyers because my background is in the law, and I was horrified at the view that most accountants had of lawyers as to how poor their services were in relation to response, transparency of fees, etc. So we work to ensure that only the best get through and represent the clients of our accountants.
Yeah, and we know when you make a introduction or a referral, your reputation is on the line. And by, if you use Syndesi, it's really I mean, it's not you who would be responsible for certain things. We would do the vetting for you and make sure that because then if you don't use anything like that, you would then, if you make introductions, you would yourself need to invest time in vetting the introduce the people you're introducing and so on. So that sort of also takes a bit of headache from your head, and your you cannot always be 100% covered, but you can at least go that 98%, 99%, and you can cover yourself in that area. Yeah, okay, so moving on. I mean, I have a question for you, Steve. I mean, what does a accounting firm actually gain when they do this right? Say in a time of maybe in the first year or something like that. What would they gain if they start using a system something like Syndesi?
Well, I think what they gain is a number of value adds that they gain. The first is that they're helping their client, and that must be the most important thing. But if they use Syndesi, they're helping their client without taking up all their time. And also, there's no personal liability on them, and the accountability is with the professional who does the work. The other aspect is, and this is a very valid a very valid value add, is that the accountant can earn revenue from using the Syndesi platform by the referrals. And whilst it's not fortunes, it's certainly, depending obviously on use, a worthwhile additional revenue stream to have, because, you know, anything you can make a little bit extra from now has to be worthwhile, so long as the job is being done properly and the client is satisfied. And I think it's getting the right outcome for the clients without the cost, complexity, or the overhead of doing it yourselves. And I think that has to be the most important element, is the right outcome for the clients.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, we work with, as Steve mentioned before, with various size of firms. Of course, our sweet spot is small to medium sized, but we also have a few top 100 firms onboarded with us, and we sort of customize the solution for their needs, because each accounting firm is different. Their needs are different. Some would already have a trusted network, some should barely know anyone, or if they know, they don't think they are good enough, or you know, they're not having a good experience with them. So in that case, we have different solutions that we have for that. I mean, I would love, if you can, Steve, sort of walk our audience a little bit more about Syndesi and our solutions, if that's okay.
Okay, of course. So, I mean, our solutions are varied. We cover off the most important areas where an accountant is asked to refer. We've done extensive market research in seeing which areas a client most often asks the questions of the accountant. We then have the network, but most of all, we have the system in place. So there are two ways for the system. One is the accountant can log on to the platform, put in the job, and cover off the and go through the process. But we know that accountants are very busy. We understand that fully, and therefore we offer a concierge service. And the one thing I want to emphasize is, by joining the Syndesi, there is no obligation at all. There's no cost and there's no obligation to use it. In fact, there's only an upside, because if you use it and your client's happy and you earn some extra money, that's the upside. But all you have to do with the concierge service is just ask. You can do it by WhatsApp, email, telephone even, and to tell us what your client needs. We will then gather a solution for you and present it to you, and you can then decide how you wish to present that to your client and take that forward. We track it, so you know exactly what's going on, but you don't have to worry about tracking it. And everything is documented in the correct manner for compliance, etc. So you're covered off on that angle as well. So in fact, we basically offer, it's like having an in-house department to deal with everything other than compliance, but it's not one you have to pay for or be responsible for.
Yeah, no, that's great. And obviously, the concierge service is something which is quite interesting that we offer. Of course, you know, as accountants, we know you're using so many softwares, so many things on a daily basis, and we want to make things as simple and as easy for you. So the concierge service is so straightforward that you can just WhatsApp us, call us, message us, whatever you prefer, and we will make the connection for you and keep you updated, as Steve mentioned. So yeah, I just wanted to emphasize on that. So yeah, I mean, I would love to ask the audience, is this something you find valuable, something like Syndesi? What do you think about a solution like that? You can put it in the chat as yes, yes, it looks like a possible solution, or maybe, or not yet, whatever you think. Okay, we have a yes from Malcolm. That's great.
I'd just like to add, Shri, if I may, that
Yes, please.
a year in, a connected practice, one who's part of it, has a much cleaner view of its client relationships, because you will know what problems you're solving beyond compliance, and you're generating consistent referral income, sometimes significant. And more importantly, your clients aren't leaving. The churn rate goes down because you've made yourself harder to replace. They can replace an accountant if they want, although it is one of the most sticky relationships. But a trusted advisor who knows their business brings all the other aspects together, that's not an easy thing to walk away from.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have another question, which is another interesting one. How do you make your money? Do you want to answer that, Steve?
I will. That's a very good question, actually. And we make our money because we charge the professionals providing the service for making introductions, for letting them into the network and helping them create those relationships. And from that sort of fee share, we share that with our accountants as well. So, if anything's a win-win-win, this system should be a win-win, because it's a win for the professionals because they're getting work, which is introduced work from professional partners, accountants. It's a win for the accountant themselves because they're able to service their clients' needs and earn an income. And most importantly, it's a win for the client because they've gone to the man they trust, and they are able to satisfy that need and hopefully have a very happy client.
Yeah, Felix is saying great idea and service. Thank you so much for that. We are soon going to be moving towards the Q&A session. But just before that, I would love to ask Steve, what are the three things that the audience after the session, if they go back, and what are the three things that they can sort of do and sort of take away from this webinar?
Well, I hope the three things three things. You put me on the spot, Shreya. So firstly, if they go away and think, what services really do my clients need, or what are they asking for? I mean, a very easy one is a will. In reality, everybody should have a will, not just the wealthy. Everybody should have a will, a simple will or a more complicated will, depending on his circumstances. But, every client should have a will. Then there's being able, as I say, to have a clear picture of what their clients are, what their needs are, over and above perhaps, the pure MTD, tax returns, VAT returns, etc. Because behind those returns are businesses and people, and those businesses and people have other requirements, but they're all interrelated. So by becoming the center of those interrelationships, the accountant is in charge. They become the most important person in the business life of their clients. And as I say, also the most important thing is the question that should be asked is, how can we help our clients? How can we give them a better service? How can we be more relevant to what they're doing? Because that is important. I mentioned it briefly before. I don't want to hark on about it, but probably accountants are most of the threat from AI, not so much in the sense of AI itself, because you can use the AI, but from the other unrelated services that can use the AI to offer accountancy services. And as I say, I keep on coming back very much to what's happened with Starling Bank recently, Monzo, HSBC, where they're grooming their clients in a way to use them for everything. They want to be that one-stop shop. So they're saying, we'll do your MTD, we'll do your simple tax returns, but that's only to get their foot in the door, to completely control those clients. And they say they'll do it for nothing. So, to prove your worth is very worthwhile.
Yeah, no, thanks for that, Steve. And I would like to add, we are running like a 20 minutes strategy call for anyone who is attending the webinar today with us. And we are more than happy to work with you to identify your client needs, customize a solution for you. And there's absolutely no obligation, no fee for you. It's free, absolutely free of cost. And we'd love if anyone wants to book a call with us. I'm just putting a Calendly link on the chat. Yeah, feel free to just book in a call with us, and we're happy to walk things with you, help you. And yeah, I mean, I think we're coming close to the end of the webinar now. And at this point, I would love to open the floor for any question and answers. So yeah, please drop in your questions, and we are happy to pick it up. I think I'm going to go to the first question that someone asked, and I told them that we'll take them towards the end.
I think you might have already answered it, Shreya, although it maybe not
fully.
fully.
Yeah, I think it was who is accountable for the advice. Obviously, in some ways, obviously, we have answered it. But I think, Steve, do you want to take that question? Who is accountable for the
Well, I think
advice?
yes, I thought we sort of touched on that. So the advice is the professional who's giving it. So the lawyer, the IFA, the expert who is providing the advice, because it's a direct contract between them and the client. So there is no accountability for the accountant, but there's a bit of a tongue twister, but there's no accountability for the accountant at all. They have no role in this other than utilizing the benefits of the Syndesi network. What I would say is this, and this is something we are particularly aware of. If a client has a bad experience, they inevitably go back to the person who made the referral. And that's what most accountants are, I won't say afraid of, but are aware of and don't want to get involved in that. So by using Syndesi, where we do have the trusted network, where you can see the bios, the reviews, where you can even talk to the professionals before any, if you wish to, before any engagement takes place, you minimize that risk. We try and completely remove it, but obviously sometimes something can happen, and not every client, sometimes a client moans, but it's not justified, but we know that happens. But essentially, we try and eliminate that risk as much as possible, and we think more than any other way, any other method.
Steve, I actually just wanted to ask something on that as well, if I can. So would an individual firm, an accounting firm, work with the same professionals for the same type of services each time? Or would it kind of go out to the whole network and they could end up working with one lawyer or a different lawyer, or, how does it work?
Yeah, well, so it depends basically on the speciality. They may have one requirement, say, for property and one requirement for commercial contracts or whatever. So that would be different types of lawyers. But yes, if they have one they particularly like, they can become a favorite, and on the platform, they're marked as a favorite, and then they can just, if they want to themselves, they can just easily just click in and connect through them. I think, as I say, the benefit of using Syndesi rather than phoning these guys up is time, because we do all the time, because what we make sure is that professional is available, because half the time people phone up people and they're not available. They're on holiday, they're too busy, etc. So we make sure they're willing to take the job. We'll get a price from them for the job. So they know the price is up front. And as I say, if they wish to speak with them, they can. But and we track. And tracking is important because, one, it keeps the accountant in the loop. If their client asks, they can say, oh, yeah, we know this is happening. And secondly, there's always that record there that if anyone so I think a lot of fuss has been made about compliance and referrals, because I'm not sure how often the professional bodies actually check. But if they did, one of the requirements is to have a list, is to know who you've referred and when you've referred them and who you've referred them to. And all of that is documented within our systems. They can call that up at a push of a button, and they've met their professional obligation.
Thank you. Thank you. Shreya, did you spot any more questions that you wanted to go through?
I think we have answered all of them, but I would love to also ask the audience if they have any other questions. Feel free to drop it in the chat, and we're happy to answer it.
Okay. I had another one as well.
Okay, yeah, please go on, please.
Yeah, I just wondered if you had any kind of success stories that you could share. I mean, obviously you don't have to name names of who they are or anything, but yeah, just anything that's been really good and worked out really well so far.
Well, we've had general success stories in that just routine work has been done and done efficiently, and the accountants have been very happy. But we have had some off the wall requests. One request we had, which I always hold back to because I find it quite interesting, is we had an accountant whose client was very active in the cryptocurrency industry, and he wanted to set up a company in Lithuania. This is apparently because Lithuania is the center of the European cryptocurrency industry. And he said to us, can you help my clients? Can you get someone who can help my client set up a cryptocurrency company in Lithuania? We did, and in Vilnius, and the client was very, very happy, and the accountant was very, very happy. Another one is we've had a few of these actually, where accountants have had clients with US tax, cross-border tax issues with the UK. There's a lot of IRS returns and things like that, and we have a specialists who deal with that, so that takes that headache off their shoulders immediately, the accountant, because you're a UK qualified accountant, you're not going to know about the IRS. But there's quite a lot of people apparently who have this issue in the UK. So we've dealt with that for them, and they're the more unusual ones, but essentially it's the usual ones. It's property purchases and sales. It's insurance is a big one, actually. Business insurance is a big one. Tax specialist advice, that's quite a big one. And obviously pensions, as I think has been mentioned by one of the attendees, and wealth management is one. But I always say, start off with a will, because everyone needs a will, and it's cheap, and and it's a great service.
Yeah, and I would like to add to that. I mean, as one of the success stories, we also work with small accounting firms, and we have found that because they're starting in new, they don't. I mean, they are struggling with so many things. This is, they just don't want to add another thing on their plate, like networking, knowing the right people, going in events, sharing their business cards and everything. That's, that it's a headache. So for one of such small accounting firms, we actually sat down with them to identify the areas where the clients ask about a lot, and we identified three main areas, and we to give them like a starting point, we also made some suggestions for the professionals for them. But obviously, as the client questions come in, we sometimes they need someone who is a specialist, has a niche niche experience, and in that case we can obviously find someone who's more niche, but we sort of give them like a few contacts on hand, and they can sort of be so confident whenever the client comes to them asking, oh, I need help with I'm having a legal issue, do you know anyone? And they would just say, yeah, I mean, we have it. And they can also sort of just give a number, our WhatsApp number to them, and it's sort of just taken care of. So they've been quite happy with us. They've been able to answer their client queries more efficiently, and also like a passive income stream for their small business.
Fantastic, thank you. I'm not sure if this is an issue, but is there ever any challenges with accounting firms referring work on to other professionals who may also offer accounting services as well as what they do? And is there a bit of a worry that clients may leave their original accountant who's referred them on and take up with this new person? Is that ever a concern?
Yeah, we have two things for this really, because firstly, it's rarely that we have accountants referring to other accountants unless there's it is a really special accountancy need, and we do provide that service because there are obviously accountancy issues that are very niche and very particular. So obviously we say in that situation to the accountant, the accountant who's receiving the work has to provide a professional undertaking, not to try and take over the client, basically. Not to circumvent the relationship that already exists. That's number one. Number two is we have a blanket clause in our agreement with all our professionals that they cannot contact the clients for further services, anything other than that particular job. And they're all willing to do that. But I think, most accountants that, have a professional, the professional people that have a professional code that where they agree that they won't poach someone else's client, they don't. And actually it's foolish, because if they did that, they wouldn't receive those particular instructions.
Yeah, indeed. That is the breakdown of trust, isn't it? And there's a lot of trust involved, as we said, you've been saying from the beginning, accountants are one of those trusted professionals that we've got. So yeah, I think if that's in the agreement, then that's brilliant. Okay. So I can't see any more questions coming into either the Q&A or the chat box now. I think we've probably answered everything. So unless anyone has anything very last minute that they just want to pop in there now, I think we're probably done. Oh, always when I say that. We have a question. Are the accountants provided details of the company or person who is carrying out the advice from the referral?
Yes, they are. And there's two ways, you see, with not every accountant is the same. Despite what people think, not all accountants work differently. So we have some accountants who want to be very closely involved in the process. They want to hold their client's hand through the process. They want to make sure that they vet the professional prior to the engagement and that they're involved. And we have others who just say, please just find my client someone. Here's their details. Just put them in touch and let me know how it goes. Yeah. So, but in all cases, they will know who's carrying out the work. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I think Steve just answered that perfectly. Just one thing I would like to add is I've obviously shared the meeting link with you guys. Just want to say we are offering a 20-minute free strategic call for you guys, and we can help you get started with anything like that. And obviously there's no obligation to use our system or anything, but yeah, we are obviously happy to help you set it up. I'm also sharing a WhatsApp contact and both of our emails in the chat section as well. If you prefer that way, you can always get in touch with us. And I think, that's all from our side.
Brilliant. All right.
Thank you, Holly, for
yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem. Yeah. Thank you so much to both of you for presenting that webinar today. It's been really, really interesting. I hope everyone's found it useful. So if you have found it useful, please put a thank you to Steve and Shreya in the chat box, please. And obviously, thanks for the reminder, Shreya, of those sessions that people can book with you, and also providing your contact details as well. So if anyone does want to get in touch, then feel free to do so. So I'd also like to thank everybody for attending the webinar this week. It's been great to see some familiar faces and some new people on the webinar as well. So yeah, do continue to attend them each week when the subject's relevant for you. So all that remains for me to say is have a great week, everybody, and I hope to see you on a webinar again very soon.
Thank you again.
Thank you, Holly, and thank you,
Thank you, everyone, for
All right.
your time. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.